Over the years, we've seen some ridiculous comebacks from guys that we thought for sure were done with their playing days.
44-year-old Phil Rivers coming out of retirement saying, hey, this feels like a daggum good opportunity. And I want to let Phil Rivers know I can't wait to watch.
Today, we're counting down the 10 craziest NFL player comebacks of all time, and trust me, some of these stories are absolutely insane. Philip Rivers, QB, Indianapolis Colts. Alright, let's start with the man of the hour. Philip Rivers retired after the 2020 season, and since then, he's been coaching high school football at St. Michael Catholic in Alabama. He became a grandfather. He completely moved on from the NFL. But the Colts had other plans. Indianapolis is dealing with a quarterback crisis like we've never seen. Daniel Jones tore his Achilles, Riley Leonard has a knee issue, Anthony Richardson is on IR with a broken orbital bone. They literally ran out of options. So they called Rivers, who Coach Shane Steichen has a long-standing relationship with, and they quickly signed him to the practice squad, then activated him to the 53-man roster. And just like that, from Friday Night Lights to Sunday afternoon football in less than a week. That is absolutely insane. Alex Smith, QB, Washington football team. This one's a bit different. This isn't about retirement, this is about survival. In 2018, Alex Smith suffered a compound tibial and fibular fracture. His leg snapped in half on a sack. The images were absolutely gruesome, but that was just the beginning of a nightmare that would last nearly 2 whole years. 3 days after surgery, Smith developed sepsis from necrotizing fasciitis, flesh-eating bacteria. His life was in danger. Doctors actually considered amputating his leg. Not almost considered. No, they were genuinely preparing for it until he took a turn for the better. Smith had to wear an external fixation device for 9 whole months. A metal cage bolted onto his leg. The guy underwent 17 surgeries. 17! Most people would never walk normally again. Most people would just be happy to live a regular life after something like that. But oh no. That was not enough for Alex. He wanted to play in the NFL again, to prove that he could. So in 2020, the man came back, and not just as a backup getting garbage time snaps. No, he went 5-1 as a starter and led Washington to their first NFC East title since 2015. The same leg that doctors almost cut off was carrying him through NFL games. He won the AP Comeback Player of the Year award with 49 of 50 votes, and honestly, I think it should have been unanimous. What Alex Smith did was not just a comeback. That was defying medical science, proving that willpower can overcome just about anything. Brett Favre, QB, Minnesota Vikings. I think this is one that everyone knows pretty dang well. The entirety of the Brett Favre saga. The Packers' longtime quarterback retired from the NFL twice and came back twice. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, not so fast. You see, that retirement lasted less than 2 months. He filed for reinstatement in the summer of 2008, hoping to return to Green Bay. But by that point, the Packers had moved on to Aaron Rodgers. They'd already handed him the keys. So, instead, they decided to trade Favre to the Jets. 1 season in New York, then he retired again. This time, it would certainly stick, right? But no, August 2009, he came back. And here's where it begins to get spicy. You see, Favre didn't just sign with some random team, he signed with the Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay's divisional rival, the Packers' sworn enemy, the team that they play twice a year, every year. And you know, he was phenomenal. 4,202 yards, 33 touchdowns in his first season in purple and gold. He swept Green Bay that season, beat them twice. Fans in Wisconsin were furious. Vikings fans were loving every second of it. You know, until that devastating loss to the Bounty Gate Saints in the NFC Championship game. Hey, say what you will about Favre, but the guy couldn't quit for better or for worse. Randall Cunningham, QB, Minnesota Vikings. Randall Cunningham retired after a very disappointing 1995 season with the Eagles. The magic was just gone. The dual-threat quarterback who had revolutionized position, well, he was clearly done. He opened a granite and marble shop, moved on from football entirely. He started a whole new chapter of his life. But then, Dennis Green came a-calling. The Vikings head coach convinced Cunningham to come back in 1997. He barely played that year, just a backup role, feeling things out. But in 1998, at 35 years old, Randall Cunningham had the best season of his entire career. Think about that. After retiring, after being away from the game, after everyone had written him off, he came back and had his best year ever. The numbers are ridiculous. 3,704 yards, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a 106.0 passer rating that led the NFL. First team All-Pro at 35. Unfortunately, that season ended in heartbreak, as is par for the course with the Vikings. And Cunningham, well, sadly, he never got his ring. But man, that comeback season was one of the greatest that we have ever seen. Eric Weddle, safety, Los Angeles Rams. Eric Weddle retired after the 2019 season with the Rams as a 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time first-team All-Pro. One of the smartest safeties to ever play the game called it quits in order to become a high school football coach at Rancho Bernardo in San Diego. And then, in the midst of a postseason run, the Rams called him. You see, Jordan Fuller was done for the year with an ankle injury. Taylor Rapp was in concussion protocol, and the Rams, they needed a safety. And they needed one for the playoffs, not just the regular season, for a Super Bowl run. And in the Super Bowl, he played all 61 snaps and wore the green dot helmet, calling the plays for the defense. The guy who had not played in 2 years was the quarterback of the defense in the Super Bowl. That is one of the most absurd playoff rentals in NFL history. Tom Brady, QB. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, this one was short-lived. In February of 2022, Tom Brady retires from the NFL, the farewell posts go up, tributes pour in, and hey, the GOAT's done. Or so everybody kind of thought? No. The news broke just 2 months later that Tom Brady was unretiring from the NFL. That is 40 days, the shortest retirement in league history. 40 days of retirement before he changed his mind and decided to come back for one more run. The guy didn't even have to file any paperwork. At 44 years old, Brady came back for one more season, and he led the NFL in attempts and completions. He threw for 4,694 yards, and somehow the Buccaneers won the NFC South at 8-9, which was a losing record, but they still won the division. Now granted, that final season wasn't his best. Tampa lost in the wildcard round, but I mean, hell, the fact that he came back at all after 40 days, after all the farewell posts, after the thank you messages, after everyone had just accepted that it was over, well, it was peak Brady. Rob Gronkowski, TE, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When Tom Brady left Foxborough for Tampa Bay, the rumor mill quickly started churning, and it proved to be correct. Rob Gronkowski just couldn't stay retired. Gronk had stepped away after the 2018 season. 9 years with the Patriots, countless big catches, and 3 Super Bowl titles. His body was beat up, and the injuries had piled up over the years. But Brady leaving New England changed everything. When the GOAT calls and he says that he needs you in Tampa, well, you answer. The Patriots traded Gronkowski to the Buccaneers in April of 2020. And in his first season back, he won his 4th Super Bowl, delivering some big moments in that postseason too. Gronkowski played 2 more seasons in Tampa before retiring again in 2022. But you know, it was great to see the Brady-Gronk connection just on full display for one last time. Deion Sanders, CB, Baltimore Ravens. Deion Sanders retired after the 2000 season with Washington, and everyone thought that, yeah, he was done. But hey, 3 years later, at 37 years old, he came back. Prime time, one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history, 8-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champion. The man had nothing left to prove. But Ray Lewis and Corey Fuller got in his ear and convinced him to join the Baltimore Ravens. They wanted that veteran presence in the secondary. And in true primetime fashion, Deion had a detail about his return that only he could pull off. He wore number 37 in order to match his age rather than his usual number 21. Over 2 seasons in Baltimore, Sanders picked off 5 passes. He had his 9th career interception return touchdown, which tied him for second all-time at that point. Still making plays at 37 and 38 years old. Was he the same Deion who dominated the 90s? No. He only started 6 games total. But I mean, come on, the fact that he came back at 37, 3 years removed from the game and was still making plays? Yeah, that is Hall of Fame confidence. Marshawn Lynch, RB, Las Vegas Raiders. Marshawn Lynch retired after the 2015 season with Seattle and had 4 Pro Bowls and a Super Bowl ring on his resume. With the beating that he took on the football field and the commercial opportunities that he had off of it, many had expected him to settle into retired life quickly. Well, that all changed when he got the opportunity to play for his hometown team. The Raiders stint was 2 seasons. The team wasn't great, Lynch wasn't the same back that he was in the Seattle prime, but that really wasn't the point. Lynch got to represent where he came from on the biggest stage. Brandon Graham, DE, Philadelphia Eagles. Well, so much for going out on top and riding off into the sunset. Brandon Graham retired in March of 2025 after the Eagles' victory in Super Bowl 59, where he re-injured his triceps, the same injury that sidelined him for 9 weeks during the season. With all the injuries and wear and tear, he decided 15 years in Philadelphia, well, that was enough. It was time. He was finally walking away. Or so we all thought, because that retirement lasted 7 whole months. When Zadarius Smith abruptly retired after Week 5, the Eagles were thin at defensive end. So they called Graham and, well, go figure. The man answered, because that's just who Brandon Graham is. At 37 years old, Graham is back for his 16th season, a franchise record, a Philadelphia legend through and through. But which comeback do you think was the craziest? What did we get right? What do you think we got wrong here? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.